It has been 4 years since you are in Moldova implementing the LGSP project. How do you see the local authorities then and now? What has changed? Where do you see the LPAs in the next 4 years?
Well, it was very different 4 years ago. Mayors had recently been elected, and as we began the project, we traveled from town to town to town to talk to them about what the project was going to do and assess their interest in being part of it. And typically, mayors were pessimistic. I don't have very much power. I certainly don't have very much in the way of funding. The government doesn't help me. I don't have any staff. I can't do very much, and I don't expect it to change. That was surprising. Would have thought that newly elected mayors would have been ready to charge ahead and make changes, but they did not feel that they had much in the way of resources to make changes. And over the last 4 years, that has changed 180 degrees, both with the existing mayors and with the new ones who have just been elected. Very surprising that the attitude now is, we have many difficulties, we have many problems, but we can do something about it. And we've seen that we can do something about it, and therefore we want to do more. And so the attitude is one of trying to press against the limits, to attack the challenges, to prove that something can be done. Some of that is the result of training and technical assistance that they've been provided. Some of it is the result of bringing in expertise from elsewhere that shows how it can be done, and some of it has been the example shown by others, particularly in Romania, where our mayors have been able to say they're not any different from what we are. They were in the same position we were in at one time. They have been able to make changes. If they can do it, why can't we? They're no better than we are, we can do it too. That's an entirely different attitude and really very refreshing. The recent elections produced a crop of mayors who tend to be perhaps a generation younger than the people they replaced. They also tend to be more optimistic. Did not hear any of that negativism from mayors in rayon center towns in the trips we made around after the election to say, please continue to be a part of it. We'll still be here for another 6 months at least. USAID intends to continue to support local government, and the attitude we got was entirely positive. Please don't abandon us. We've gotten a lot accomplished. We see what's happened in the last several years, and we want more of that. Very positive.
Thank you. How do you see the public services transformations in Moldova now compared to 4 years ago when LGSP came to Moldova?
Well, I would say there are some improvements, but those improvements are incremental, not revolutionary. I don't see dramatically improved services, but there is a whole lot of movement in the right direction. Towns have a bit more equipment, in part because this project provided them some, and therefore we're able to use that equipment and improve services immediately. That's useful. More subtle is their ability to increase own source revenues so that they have more money than they had before, and they can then use that money to improve services. In particular, several towns have been able to do better management of their assets, discover what they own and what they're allowed to exploit, and then exploited it and got the revenue as a result and took that revenue to do something specific. In one case I'm familiar with, took that revenue, renovated a kindergarten. They could not have done that if they had not sought to better manage their own resources. They weren't going to the central government and saying, please give us money to renovate our kindergarten. They wouldn't have gotten any. The kindergarten wouldn't have gotten renovated. This way, they could do it on their own authority. Several towns have recognized the value in having a single place for people to come and do business with the local government. They don't have to come to City Hall, find out who the appropriate official is, walk all through the City Hall building, find the correct office, determine that individual is out in the field someplace and won't be back for 3 hours, come back after 3 hours, the person is busy, still can't get it done. They don't have to go through that. They can go to one place, easily accessible in the building, and have customer service people take care of that for them. The same way, really, that a bank or a utility like the telephone company does when it treats customers. And so a person gets service much more quickly, sometimes more cheaply, and much more satisfied with the business that they do with the town. It means that the town is acting the way a business does and treating its citizens as customers who have needs that the enterprise is meant to fulfill. It makes the public employees happier, it makes the citizens a lot happier, and it gets things done more quickly. And it's also a useful tool in any fight at the local level against corruption, because it separates some of the people who take the actions from the people who meet with the public. That's been very successful, and there are a large number of towns who would like to implement it, given the support and given the money. There's also an effort to assist most of the public utilities in these rayon center towns with billing and collection for their utilities. They're having difficulty managing their affairs because they're not getting paid for the services that they provide. They're not getting paid for the water they deliver. And to get control over that means that their revenues will increase. If their revenues increase, their ability to maintain their system increases. When that improves, then more water service is available to the public, which means more bills can be issued, which means more bills get paid, which means there's yet more money, and then the system begins to be able to expand and improve its services. That's happening, but it doesn't happen overnight. No one says, oh my goodness, look how much more wonderful my water service is. Well, over a period of time it will gradually become better. Local officials are better at that than they were 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And about there were a series of donations.
I'm sorry.
There was a series of donations.
Yes.
Some equipment.
Yes.
And how do you think that would impact the citizen, any citizen from these towns?
An important factor in those donations, first of all, we didn't have enough money to solve anyone's problems totally. Certainly didn't have enough money to solve all of the problems of all 32 towns we were working with totally. We had money to provide a significant piece of equipment to each of them. So the question was of the mayor, what's the most important priority you have for a piece of equipment that will improve services to the public? That's not the same answer for every one of 32 towns. Some donors have done that. They've said, it seems like everybody needs a garbage truck, so let's provide garbage trucks everywhere. We didn't do that. We know that there were some towns that needed garbage trucks, and other towns that needed an excavator, and other towns that needed a road grader, other towns needed a service intervention truck, other towns needed garbage containers more than they needed a truck. So we were providing equipment to towns based on their own stated needs. That worked very well. Then we also did something else, because frequently we saw that those municipal enterprises didn't have the capability of managing their vehicle and equipment fleet very well. If that's true, then they weren't going to be managing their new piece of equipment very well either. And if a new and expensive piece of equipment that would be used for a period of time, it would break. No one would know how to fix it, so it would sit there, not doing anybody any good. So in addition to providing equipment, we also provided training in vehicle maintenance and fleet management, which should mean that the equipment lasts longer. It should mean that towns are able to set aside funds for maintenance so that it can continue to operate, and set aside funds for replacement. Much of the equipment we were looking at was 30, 40, 50 years old, well past the period of time when it's economic to maintain it. But there was no way that a town could ever amass enough money to get a new one. They could barely get enough money to fix what was wrong with the old one, so they just kept fixing something and fixing it and fixing it and fixing it. It was no longer economic to do that, but they had no choice. Now we think they'll be better at that, and the result of that would be better service over time as well.
One short sentence. An advice for all the mayors, for local authorities, what would that be?
Pay attention to what the public is demanding of you and do your best to provide it.
Thank you.